Welcome to Boundless Pursuit, a weekly podcast providing motivation, entertainment, and education to anglers and outdoorsmen. I hope that the stories you'll find here will encourage you to chase your passion more fervently, to open your mind to new opportunities and perspectives. Your engagement and feedback is critical to the growth of this show, and I would love to hear your suggestions on topics or potential guests. You can reach me at boundlesspursuitfishing@gmail.com or at my website, www.boundless-pursuit.com. That's where you'll find all related articles, media, and merchandise. Please remember, the show will gain traction from your support. Be sure to like, comment, and share this podcast to your friends and connections. I'm your host, David Graham. Now let's get on to today's episode. You know, I love to hear stories of anglers that are traveling off to these far-off destinations and just doing their dream trips. And we all have our own dream trips and bucket list species. But as a resident of Florida myself, sometimes I forget that I live where other people vacation. And a lot of people's bucket list fish live right in my backyard. And one of the more attainable fish in that category is the peacock bass. And South Florida just presents the unique opportunity for the budget angler to DIY a trip for this incredible sport fish that they might otherwise have to break the bank on a trip to South America for. And I think that the South Florida shore-based fishing scene might be some of the best, if not the best, in the entire country, where with proper planning, you could very realistically catch peacock bass, largemouth bass, snakeheads, clown knifefish, tarpon, snook, jack crevalle, sharks, bowfin, and gar, and more, all in the same day. But it seems like in South Florida, our real hot ticket fish is the peacock bass, and in saltwater, it's the tarpon. And today's guest has got both of them dialed in. Chris Fishes of Miami catches some unbelievable peacock bass. The guy has cracked the code on the South Florida exotic scene, but the peacock bass in particular seems to be the real bread and butter. Unbelievable peacock bass. And as a Florida resident myself, I mean, I've played around with the peacocks plenty myself, and I've been lucky enough to catch a few nice ones. But Chris has taken it to a whole other level, and he boasts some of the most impressive peacock bass catches that you will find anywhere on the internet. Now, on the saltier side of things, Chris has got a special place in his heart and a special level of experience chasing monster tarpon, snook, jacks, and all kinds of other saltwater species from land. This dude's content is enough to inspire anyone to make a trip to South Florida to check off a few from the bucket list, and he was gracious enough to drop some solid knowledge on how the ambitious angler could do it himself. Now, if this guy's experience and catches don't inspire you to make a trip down here to try this stuff, I don't know whose will. Now, the guy's Instagram page is just ridiculous, the awesome fish that he's catching, but it was really cool to actually get to know him a little bit, pick his brains on some fish that I could very easily drive a couple hours across the state to go chase. But he just showed himself to be a really cool dude that I enjoyed talking to, and I think you're going to listen to. This is Chris Fishes, South Florida shore angler. We'll just dive into it. Let me take a swig of some coffee. All right, did you hear it? Did you hear it on your end? Recording in progress?
I got it.
So, all right, Chris Fishes, what's going on, dude? Appreciate you joining the show.
Yes, sir. I'm all ears. So
yeah, man. I've been seeing your stuff around for like a while. Ever since I moved to Florida, you know, I only got here, I don't know, 4.5, maybe going on 5 years ago. So obviously, like, I came all the way from Arkansas, like middle of the country, no salt water, and so like obviously it's like a wonderland here, and It's like, you know. It's like South Florida has those few like low-hanging fruit species that like anybody can do really like on their own if you just have two good walking feet. So clearly like the peacock bass thing was big, you know, especially when I first got here. I slowed down a little on that, but I think I've been seeing your photos like ever since I started playing around on Instagram. And I even think like, did you work at a tackle shop for a while?
Yeah, I did. I started working at it's a bait shop down in Homestead. I was working there. I started there at 16, and then I was there for 6 years, and then I ended up becoming the manager there, and then pretty much running the show. And then I moved on. But I'm still involved in the fishing industry. So, but yeah, I did work there for a while, and that opened up a lot of doors for me. Meeting a lot of new people and being involved in the
Yeah.
industry and going to shows and stuff like that. So,
Well, that's what it's all about. The guys behind the counter at the tackle shop, like you're in the ultimate like driver's seat to like networking with local anglers. Like like you
yeah.
are the face of the region of fishing around there. So you get to meet all kinds of people. But I asked that because I could swear after I was like binge looking through your Instagram the last couple of days. I'm like, this dude looks so familiar. But I think it was one of your peacock bass pictures. There's so many of them. One of them I thought I saw like on the wall, and then I think I might have even seen you at the tackle shop. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So I scrolled through your stuff, and I was like, oh my gosh, like this guy has like unlocked like all the codes to the South Florida like exotic scene. So I know like a lot of the guys that listen to this, and hopefully it's a growing audience. Maybe it's only 10 people. I don't know.
Right,
But
right.
it's like obviously to the out of state guys, like our peacock bass that we have here is kind of like the big seller. I feel like there's probably more exciting fish. I'm sure you do too. That's always like they got the eye appeal, they got like the beauty. But dude, you catch like the freaking giant ones. So like I don't know. I guess if we gotta have a starting point, I gotta start there because like, scrolling your stuff like that's really the one that pops out at you the most. Like, how did you get into the peacock bass scene? Like, tell me a little bit about that.
Well, pretty much, I didn't even know what that fish was until I was like 11 years old. My mom and my stepdad bought a house during like during the first depression, not depression, when the economy went to shit pretty much back into like
Yeah.
2008. So we got a nice house on a lake at a good price, and the lake, I was just like, let me see what's back here. I kind of knew how to fish, somewhat with my dad in the Keys and stuff like that. We would, catch snappers and stuff like that, like just random stuff. And then once we moved to a lake, there was just out. Well, I didn't even know what to call it. I was like, dude, what? There's a colorful fish with bars on it,
Yeah.
and and they were still building. We were like, like that neighborhood at the time was just like the only neighborhood. And then one day there was like a bait shop right there around the corner, and then I was going there, which is the bait shop I ended up working at.
Yeah.
And the owner, which was my ex boss, pretty much told me that it was a peacock bass, and I was like, oh shit, like okay, whatever. What do they eat? So
Yeah.
then I started using like these little peahawks, which is pretty much like a flare hawk,
Okay.
but like an like an eighth of an ounce. It's just like a real small jig, like like what you use for bonefish and stuff like that. Just a little bucktail, pretty much. That's what it was. And I started trying to figure it out, and that at the time the lake was untouched, so I was just catching big ones,
Hmm.
and I was like, damn, like this is getting real addicting. So then I was like, that's all I wanted to do was just figure out how I was gonna catch the big ones, and then through time, now I'm 23, so learning and trying to figure out the seasons and when they breed, how they're feeding, and stuff like that. I just got better at it, and then I just got to the point where it's like, all right, this is how I'm gonna find the big ones. So
Yeah.
that's give or take of
Well,
how I've
it
done
looks
it so
like you
far.
found a. I mean, dude, I'm looking at them right now, and it's like one after another after another. I mean, I've managed to catch a couple of big ones, but it's not. I mean, nothing to this level now. Are you? I mean, like, what area are you like? Like just the general Miami area, I guess, is
Yeah,
kind of
so
like.
I'm in the Miami area. I try to tell people like because they always ask like, oh, like is there a certain area where they're at, and it's not really that. I've actually fished from Homestead all the way to Pompano. That's actually where they're at. You'll find them in West Palm Beach,
Mhm.
but you won't really find the ones that get up to like 8 pounds in West Palm Beach. Like it's very, 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 very rare because the times that it gets cold, they'll just kill them.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So Pompano is kind of like the soft spot where it's like they're not gonna die off. They'll somewhat survive. Even then, it's still kind of hard to find one up to like 7, 8 pounds in that area. But like I said, I fish from Homestead all the way up to Pompano, and they're in that range, and that's a 2 hour range.
Hmm.
2.5 hour range, and whether you're on the East Coast or on the West Coast of Miami, West Coast being like not 8th Street, like Chrome Avenue, which is kind of by the Everglades.
Yeah.
You're gonna see them there too. And I know by your area you'll find them there too, but not.
Yeah, it's not even in the same.
Yeah, it's not. You're not gonna find them
You're
that
finding the
big.
little guys around me. Our
Right.
neighborhood pond, actually, I live in Naples, and our neighborhood pond has them, but we had that cold spill. That was a couple of months ago, and then after that, there you could find dead ones on the banks. I think it just smoked them. I mean, they had no
Yeah,
real deep water to get in.
this last winter kind of scared me because we really haven't had like a freeze since like 2010,
Yeah,
and that really affects them. And if the big ones are in an area where there's deeper water, they have a fighting chance.
right.
You know.
Well, the interesting thing about like that Homestead area, and like I don't know, I don't know those areas that well, but I know Homestead, especially in the like parts of Miami, it seems like I don't know if it's like the substrate that the canals like run through, like limestone or what. Like the water's so much more clear.
Yeah.
And like to your point, I've gone up like up where you catch snakeheads. Now we may get into the snakehead thing later. Like you'll still see them, but it's like the water's not clear. Like you can't like pinpoint them the same. Like I feel like the area that you're probably catching most of them is so much more interesting because you can watch these. Like, you can look out in the waters like a
Yeah.
swimming pool and basically pick which one you want to catch. But
Yeah, I think that the limestone definitely has an impact on the water clarity. Down here, even in my area where I live in the Kendall area.
mhm,
There's lakes where there's like a lot of limestone. You see it sticking out. And that with obviously the limestone that
yeah,
filters out the water. And I noticed like areas going up north, kind of like by Pembroke Pines or even like the Pompano area, you don't see that much limestone. It's more like
yeah,
more grassy areas, which makes the water more murkier, if that's a word.
right.
It's
Oh
just
yeah, I
it's
know what
real
you mean.
murky everywhere. And even if there's grass, which ironically filters out the water, it still makes the water dirtier.
Yeah,
So
yeah. But that limestone, I don't know. I agree. Like I know when I do go after peacock bass, I usually like to come to Kendall. There's like this one pond. I probably hoed this pond out myself. I like find one good spot and then I just always only go there.
yeah,
But it's like
yeah.
next to some drugstore. So it's like, I don't know, the element of it being so like urban is so interesting to me. But so I know like there are people, especially now it's like growing and growing, especially with like the boom and like YouTube and the exposure that that's given to the fisher, like the fishery. Now people are coming from all over the place, just descending on Miami to get a chance to catch one of these exotic fish because to the budget angler, what's the alternative? Go to South America, go to somewhere that's going to cost you a lot more money. So now, your neck of the woods got this opportunity for people who have less money, maybe less money, but as much ambition to catch the fish. But some of them may not realize it. Well, where do I go? What should I use? So, I know a lot of the guys, like I alluded to before we started this call, are kind of like that intrepid, spirited person that just likes to stay on the move, likes to stay traveling, likes to do the DIY trips. But I know you've got to have like a wealth of knowledge. So, like, if you could give somebody who's sitting on the edge of their seat listening to this, like, sort of kicking around the idea of taking a stab at it themselves, like what advice would you give to somebody, like maybe the area that they should focus on, the approach they should take, I don't know, time of year, gear, just like everything, like as though they were a brand new fisherman that's just trying to catch peacock bass?
I'd say so spring, which is right now, is bedding season for them. So right now you're gonna see them more on the banks, and then which is also kind of like a feeding time, but it's really not. I'll see these fish on the bed is most of the time the easiest way to catch them.
Yeah.
Um, but feeding time, I'd say that the big ones get more aggressive, like right before fall, summer, like ending of summer, very beginning of fall. Sometimes even during fall. Uh, you know, like mid fall, you might be able to get them. To get aggressive. The thing is, once it starts getting cold, they start getting spooked. So that's why I try to recommend like right in that soft spot, ending of summer, beginning of fall. For
That's
like this.
good advice too, because I'm thinking like I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of somebody that let's say lives up north and where it gets miserably cold. In the middle of their winter, they might say, "Oh, I'm going to go somewhere warm. I'm going to go down to Florida in January." So it's a good thing that you brought that up because some people might figure, well, I'm going to go to Florida when it's warmer. I guess it's still cool here. So maybe people need to consider coming during the summer, not during the winter, but more people who live up north might be more inclined to travel here during their winter because, the snowbird mentality.
Right, right.
But
The fishery can be so much bigger. The peacock bass fishery can be so much bigger, and I have this great idea. Um, it's the thing is like this is I'm gonna backtrack a little bit. I broke I don't know if you know who Scott Rose is.
yeah, yeah.
I broke his record by 2 ounces. He holds the Popoka peacock bass record, and I broke it by 2 ounces. So, but the thing is, my record's been pending for since I was 17. That's when I broke the record, and IGFA hasn't approved it along with a bunch of other peacock records because there's like a peacock bass. They think that there's hybrids everywhere. That the peacocks that they release in here are mating with each other and it's creating all these hybrids. So it's like they haven't set a species for all these quote unquote hybrids.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of holds that the peacock fishery back. Like not a lot of people are really dedicated to it because there's just no hype,
Yeah.
and I feel like one of the ways to hype it up is to just say, if that really is the case, like, okay, this fish is 70%, 80% butterfly, 20% papoka. This fish has more butterfly genetics than it does have papoka from looking at the outside. Because the thing is, if you're gonna submit a fish in, it's like you're gonna have to kill the fish, and then you have to get the
Mm-hmm.
DNA of it. Like, might as well take a bunch of good photos, observe while you can through the photos, and then just say, okay, we're gonna follow this under butterfly because of the spots. Because
Yeah.
that's how they're really identifying these fish, especially the fish that are in South America. That's how they're identifying, like, oh, look at the spots. All like we found 200 of these fish that have a spot on its head. Okay, it's a papoka,
Yeah.
or this has the bars, this is a temensis, this is that. So it's like here they're holding that fishery back because they don't want to have a bunch of misconceptions of like what fish is what. So like my idea is, why don't you just do it that way where it's like um do it where you can just identify the fish by looking at the spots and just say, okay, now there's like, let's just say there's 4 new species of peacocks here for whatever the reason is, and they're hybriding with each other, and it's like, okay, now there's line class records that can be broken. There's
Yeah.
more IGFA memberships that are going to be introduced. More people are going to be more excited about it because they're going to be like, oh, I'm going to fly down to Florida and break this record, and I'm gonna try to break the line class record. Like, oh, let's do that. That's just gonna bring a lot more people down to Florida and Miami.
Yeah, to where there's like the opportunity to like you want to inject a little bit of competition into it. I was trying to look at like that's another interesting topic. Is like a lot of people I don't think realize, like some people just think peacock bass is one fish. Like those giant ones in like I don't even know where. What's the place where those massive 3 bar peacock bass live?
They're in Brazil. They're in Colombia. The Temensis.
Colombia. I know Colombia's like, well, yeah, I think some people are under the impression that that is like the same thing we have, and it's
No,
not.
no, no, it's
Yeah.
not.
But I
It's
didn't
not.
even know. I knew that what they had initially, I don't know, back in the 80s, they had like experimented with various different kinds, but only predominantly the butterflies survived. And one other one, is it maybe it's the one you were mentioning? It kind of has like dots all over it.
It's a Popoca and the other one's like Orinoco, something like
Oh,
that.
Orinoco, maybe. I know that's a
Orinoco,
river
that one,
name.
yeah. The Orinoco, yeah.
Because that's interesting because I know you mentioned like the record. I always thought that was weird. At least I think it was recently, maybe within the last year, it like at least was one that was bumped up over like maybe 9 pounds something. I don't know what the record is. Actually,
Oh, yeah, it's 9 pounds, 11 ounces. Felipe, which is a friend of mine,
yep, yep.
he broke the record last year.
But then prior to that, it was like something that like I swear I've seen photos of ones that were bigger than that. It's like what's taking so long for that to be broken? I'm like I know guys are catching bigger ones. It was like 8 pounds something.
Yeah, no,
Um,
that brings me back to like the cold, since we
yeah,
haven't had a freeze in so long, more and more big ones are getting to that size. So there's going to be more and more 9 pounders out there, and there are more and more 9 pounders out there. And it's because we haven't really had a cold. This
mhm.
last winter we had like maybe two really bad days, but it wasn't like a week long where it was like in the 30s. That's what kills them.
Yeah, yeah. That's an interesting one. Like
Genetics has a lot to do with it too.
I know there's a lot of guys who like I said, are planning or want to do that trip and don't really know where to start. And we'd kind of gone down that road. But like, let's say like somebody's, kicking around the idea and they want to show up with, I don't know, one rod and like what is like maybe like good, like if they were to grab up a handful of like artificials, like what would be some suggestions of effective lures to throw at these things? Or is it more or less, I think to your point, like I've noticed when they're on beds, I mean, hell, you could throw a rock in there and it's like they want to pick it up and move it out of the bed almost more than anything.
Yeah,
But
yeah, I've caught peacocks on beds like using anything. I
yeah,
guilty of it, but I'm not killing the fish, so it's like,
right, right.
and
Well,
when
there's enough
if
of
I
them,
do
but
find one, if I do find a big one on the bed, it's like catch the male, release it as fast as I can,
mhm.
you know, and
And people may not
female
realize the male is actually the bigger one, right?
right, most like 99% of the time, yeah.
Yeah,
The females don't really get that big. Um, but and fishing on a bed, it's like leave the female alone. There's no
hmm,
reason. There's no
yeah,
reason. 99% of the time I leave the female alone. If whatever reason the female attacks the lure first than the male, then so be it. I try to throw her in as fast as I can. But most of the time it's just get the male, take the photo, throw it back. And most of the time they go back. The males will
yep,
actually go back. I've
yep.
seen
I've
it
seen
happen
that.
too. Because
Yep,
I've gone back to the spots and they sit right back on it. You
right.
know, as long as you like throw them back right in front of the bed, I noticed they'll see the female, they'll try to pass through the bed, and then they'll just kind of like circle the area for a little bit, and then they'll come back. I've seen that
Yeah,
a bunch of times.
that's an interesting one because it's like they're almost like when they get really aggressive on those beds, them things are almost like a sitting duck, especially in that clear water. It's like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
almost more like a game of just simply finding them, and it's like, well, their fate is sealed because they're going to eat. But
Finding them on the bed is it's fun.
yeah.
Especially
So
when you find
I
like
guess I guess a suggestion to anybody who's coming from out of state to do it. It's like that may be the best time to do it to at least be able to cross it off the list. But you should also approach it with a level of ethics. Clearly,
right, right. That's my way of like if you're gonna come out of town, that's like my way of like that's how you should respect it. You know.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that's
what are you
kind of
typically throwing? Are you throwing like hard plastic, like lipped, like subsurface crankbaits,
I'll
top
usually throw
waters?
like a little I don't have one laying around here. Like a real small swim bait, like 2 inch, like a 2 inch swim bait. And the reason being is because that's if I'm throwing it on a bed. And the
Hmm.
reason why is because obviously you have to like pick at them for a while, depends on like how aggressive they are. And they're not really feeding, they're just trying to defend the bed. And so sometimes when they try to like suck in the bait or that's just their way of defending it, obviously because they don't have hands. So
Yeah.
what they'll do is they'll suck it in their mouth and then spit it back out. So you need something small enough where they're gonna suck it in and set the hook as soon as like
Okay.
you know
Yeah, I've
it's
seen them to do that, and it's funny because they'll come at it and like sort of flare their gills out, like they're trying to
yeah,
scare your lure away.
yeah, it's
But
crazy.
so like I know like in a lot of these areas, it's like you're in a very urban type of setting, and some people, it's like it's kind of hard to tell. Like, am I allowed to be here? Am I not? I mean, have you found like is it pretty easy for people to like know if they're in an area where I guess legally they can fish? Is there things they need to know as far as like making sure they're not going to get themselves in any kind of trouble, walking through the wrong neighborhood, through the wrong yard,
Yeah,
across the wrong property?
there's a lot of public areas. Man, that's tough because like I'm one of those who just doesn't care. You know, I'm
I'm the
very
same way
you know,
to a point.
yeah, no, I'm very guilty, very very guilty of some things that I've done. Knock on wood, I haven't gotten caught. I've done some crazy stuff, but if you're just coming from out of town, and like I feel bad sometimes because like it's like okay, they're in Miami, I'm in Miami, where do I go?
Mhm.
I have to say like any public canal, anywhere where it's like it's kind of obvious, open area, where there's signs that does if there's signs there that says like, oh, just be careful, like or whatever, or beware of alligator, which is bullshit. You
Yeah.
know, obviously signs that say no fishing, you might get, you know, but most of the time, like no one really gives you a hard time unless you're like in their backyard.
Hmm. Right.
You know?
Yeah, I've noticed that too. I will say this to anybody thinking about it because I know when I first came, I was a little bit. I don't know. I get like I don't want to be confronted by a Karen. Like I'm gonna get at it. I'm just gonna leave it alone. But I did notice, and I will say this to anybody: it seems every single parking lot, at the very least, has a sign that says "tow away zone," no unauthorized parking. That is bullcrap. I'll
Yeah,
park overnight in these things. Like you can park. I'll say this to anybody thinking, for the most part, okay, if it's at a grocery store, walk in there and buy a Snicker bar. Now you're a customer. But it's like I feel like at the very least, yeah, I think you're right. It's
I'm
kind of
very
like
smart about that
I
though.
I think a little bit of common sense will take people a long way. Like if you're jumping over a fence,
Yeah,
maybe you're going to invite that negative encounter with somebody.
there's areas where there's like like you have to jump a fence and it's not illegal at all. It's
Yeah.
crazy. There's areas that are like that, and then like the
Mhm.
areas that say like tow away, it's like okay, I'm gonna be here for 5 minutes. It'll take a tow truck approximately 20 minutes to get here.
Yeah.
I'll be, I'll jump in the
Keep a
car.
watch and go.
Yeah, no, it's pretty much how it is.
Yeah.
Areas where it's like, dude, really? By the time that person calls the tow truck and then, yo, they're coming, and then it's like, dude, like, you think I'm gonna wait for them to come? Like, dude, I'm
Right.
out here. It's like, get my plate. Then the
Yeah,
tow
I
truck
never I
comes.
never had issues with that though. It's like I don't think I mean especially the bigger businesses, like a major chain like type of place. They don't know who's there for what. I think at some point I mean, there's no regulating that. It's like, I don't know. If you're in like an old folks retirement home community where every like parking spot has like a numeric value and like and they like and there's supposed to be a parking pass or whatever, maybe. But anyway. So like I know like when I first got to like the Miami area, it's kind of funny how you say that. It's like when people ask, well, where do you go? And you're not really lying when you just say any canal because it seems like they're in every one of them.
They
Like you
really
just
are.
literally they're you walk up and you're going to find one within minutes of walking the bank. But is there specific features in the canals? Because the canals a lot of times just a straight line. To your point, especially the further south you go, it's like there's no vegetation. It's just rock and clear water and a straight line. Is there
Yeah.
certain features that you key in on, like culvert pipes or intersections of the canals, or like
You know,
what should people look for?
grass and bait, for canals. But like the funny thing is like I don't really fish canals. I don't.
Okay,
I don't fish canals whatsoever. I hate fishing canals.
yeah,
Like I don't have the patience for that. I try to look for lakes,
okay,
nice lakes with an ecosystem. Most of the time the peacocks don't leave those
hmm
lakes. Areas where there's like the thing is if you find a solid lake where it's got three more most important things, which is the main thing is having a good ecosystem.
yeah,
Okay, and I try to tell this to people a lot. It's like you need to have grass, bait, and a lot of structure. And it's because that creates a really healthy ecosystem.
Right.
And if one thing dies, it fucks everything else up. And I've seen it.
Hmm.
Like I've seen it. I've lost so many good spots where like lakes literally die. And I hate to say it like that, but it's true. Like I've seen lakes where the grass is overgrown and then there's no room for the peacocks to bed. The peacocks need to
Oh
bed,
yeah.
So if they're overgrown on the banks, imagine how deep it how all the grass is, grown on the bottom. So it's like, where are they bedding? Are they dying? And I've seen it where it's like the peacocks that were so healthy, like the big ones are still in there, but they're skinny and they're black,
Mm.
which means there's no food, they're stressed out. So it's like finding a really good lake with a really good ecosystem is so important. And once you find that, it's like that it takes you such a long way, And
Yeah.
I've there's lakes that I still fish to this day that it's like, knock on wood, like nothing has happened to them. It's still such a strong ecosystem. There's bait everywhere. The peacocks are still feeding very good. There's grass everywhere. There's room. There's places where the bait are gonna hide, and then the peacocks are gonna breed, and it's just a really good ecosystem. And that's the one thing I look at. It's like I'll even go to lakes, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna waste my time walking this lake.
Mm.
There's too much grass. The grass is way overgrown. Not saying that there's not gonna be big fish in there. I'm sure there is, but it's like how are you gonna approach it? That's
Yeah.
kind of my thing. Like, am I gonna waste my time trying to bust my ass and figure out how this lake is gonna produce, or am I gonna just find some other spot?
Yeah. That's good advice because I think a lot of people probably start where I started, where you kind of walk a canal, and you're right. It's like they just have the leeway to just leave. They can just keep
Yeah.
going.
It's funny because I used to do a lot of peacock charters. Now it's kind of slowed down. Now when I do a peacock charter, it's more
Mhm.
like the people who booked me from like years ago. But I actually chartered Donald Trump's personal civil engineer, which is
That's
pretty
crazy.
dope. He designed one of Trump's houses up in
Yeah.
I think it was Pompano or West Palm. I think it's West Palm. He has a house over there. He designed his helicopter pad, his pool. He even he actually to this day he still designs some of his golf courses, remodels them, stuff like that. So what he was trying to tell me, and he loves to fish. Um, he told me that all the lakes are connected. Everything is connected because when
Yeah.
it rains a lot here, so everything has to level up.
Hmm.
So one lake can be higher than another. So everything is connected. No matter what, he goes, no matter what, everything is connected. But it's like there's lakes where it's like they don't really like the sewers are not completely open. They have like gates on them.
Yeah.
So like the big ones are technically stuck in there. Like the small ones can move in and out if they're small enough to fit through the cages and stuff like that. But
Okay. That's
like,
funny. It
yeah,
like
90% of the
it like
time,
filters the little ones out.
yeah, it's crazy. And like some of them, the ones that are open, they're like on the top of the lakes. They can't get out. That's if
Yeah.
the lake gets to that level. It's like, okay, now everything needs to level up. So most of the time, the sewers are like up on the banks. So it's like they really can't get out.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Well, I guess if somebody's really doing their homework and if you can ascertain what's that kind of water body and not. But you're right. I mean, all of South Florida is one giant like flood management system. All those canals are designed to like keep everything from going underwater. So I think you're right. I think everything's for the most part connected, with the exception of some of the ponds that were probably, I don't know, designed to make residents happy because they have
Right.
scenery. But I don't want to get too stuck on the peacock bass thing because you've done so much more. And like,
Oh,
I love peacock bass. I think they're awesome. But
I love,
I
I
feel
love.
like after living here for a while, you know, there was other things I ended up moving on to. But I will say one last thing too. A lot of people that are going to come for peacock bass is because of like the bass appeal. I mean, and obviously it's not actually a bass; they're cichlids essentially. But like bass anglers especially want to get a peacock bass. But a lot of bass anglers, I think they like approach it in that like largemouth bass like frame of mind. Like you got to get up early, you got to get that morning bite. At
Um,
least, at least for me, that hadn't been. I mean, what's your perception? Like, do they need to worry about getting up early in the morning, or is this the kind of fish you can still do just fine when the sun is high?
It's actually a really good question. I've never had anyone ask me that, but it's a really good question. That question actually goes along a lot of different ways. I've actually spoken to a lot of professional bass anglers. I even took the Guggen squad out one time when I
That's
was
funny.
I spoken to Mike Iaconelli.
Yeah.
Um, who's the other one? Scott Martin. I've had a few conversations with him. So it's like they like the mentality is actually completely different. And it's funny because like these people have won competitions, and then you got the like the Guggen Squad. I don't know if they have won anything, but they're very familiar with the largemouth industry
They've
as it
won
is.
life. They've won bank
Right.
accounts.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
like they either way they still have an experience in that industry.
Yeah.
So their mentality is it's completely different. You have to approach these fish completely different. And even they tell me like they're like, man, like, yeah, catching a 10-pound largemouth is crazy, but man, like, I just want to know what it feels like to fight an 8-pounder or a 7-pound. Like, I want to know what it feels like. And they still go out of their way to try to catch one, and which I think is pretty cool because I really want to catch like a 10-pound largemouth just so I can like know what it feels like,
Yeah. I'm right there with you. I've
But
never caught a 10-pounder.
yeah,
I've caught about
yeah, there's a
eight,
lot
a
of them in
little
your
over eight
area.
pounds.
There's a
I
lot
know.
of
I
them.
need, I need to. I need to start going after the bass a little bit more. I don't know. I got to play with them a little bit more. But yeah, I'm right there with you. I've my biggest bass, and I caught it in like high school. It was
Okay,
only a little over 8 pounds. But anyway, this ain't about me. But yeah, the
right.
peacock bass thing is. I feel like you take a 5 pound largemouth and a 5 pound peacock. Like peacock bass are phenomenal fighting fish. It feels like a grouper. Like this
Yeah.
is a powerful fish. Like size for size. I
And
don't think they're the
honestly,
same as largemouth at all.
honestly, the one main thing that really hypes me out about them is like it's just the way they look and the
Mm-hmm.
way they're so aggressive, the way they feed. That's really what hypes me up. And then just at the end, getting that solid photo is really what like
Yeah,
just my photos. I really take them to like another level. I try to.
dude, they're incredible.
Thank you.
Like
Yeah,
I've been looking, I was like, Jesus. It makes me want to come over there.
it's like it's just holding the fish a certain way. It's just to get people to appreciate it. That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's not really trying to like make the fish look big. It's
I'm
really
right there with you. I don't want to see somebody's dirty ass fingernails they've been scratching their ass with. Like,
yeah.
but there's and that's gotta be the most photogenic, like photo worthy species of fish, too. Like they have got more eye appeal than
Oh,
maybe any other freshwater fish in the entire continent.
but it's crazy because they still don't have that big of an industry. Like they really haven't made that much
Yeah.
of an impact, and it's because, like I said, that the whole species thing being one of the reasons. Number one, number two, Miami is barely a quarter of Florida as it is. So imagine
Yeah.
compared to the United States, like the rest of the states that hold largemouth, it still doesn't compare, you know. And then imagine like not even just Miami, just the neighborhoods in Miami. It's like
Hmm.
certain areas are gonna hold them. So it's still that industry is not gonna expand to largemouth. It still has room to grow, but
Yeah.
not to the largemouth extent.
I think largemouth have pretty much cemented their spot on the mantle in North America
Yes.
for like the fish, which is curious because I mean I love going bass fishing, but I'm like, man, I mean they're all right. But there's just been such an entire industry built around that fish. Like, I mean, I just nothing will ever take their space. But I think anybody that sees, especially when they look at like your photos, and I mean, you're just out there on foot walking. You got like a backpack with some gear and one rod, and you're blasting these things. Now, granted, I know you know what you're doing because I've gone over there time and time and time again. I'm like, where are these giants at? I can't
Yeah.
find them. So like, there's definitely a level of knowledge and skill involved that you've mastered. But
Yes and no, but like I said, the main thing, even with like a lot with any other fish, it's just understanding how they live.
yeah.
That's all it is. Once you get that down pat, it's not. I'm not gonna say it's easy, but it's a better understanding.
Well, South Florida's whole like exotic scene is such an interesting thing. It's almost good that the climate is so like particular for these fish that like the fear can't even be there for them to like spread and kill everything else. Because it's easy if you take an exotic species like for instance the northern snakehead up in the northern states. You throw that sucker out there, and it's like people get scared because it's those aren't canals. Those are like wild rivers. Like they've got room to spread. It can scare people. But here, like all the fish species we have, like are constricted by a specific climate like barrier. There's like an invisible barricade they can't get past, and that's just purely climate. But you got to be like one of the guys that I've seen that has literally gotten all of them. So it's like I seen a photo of you holding a red tail catfish. Those big pacu, that's the one that I've been interested in lately. I'm like, I gotta find where them damn things live. Like I haven't knocked that one off. So you've got the red tails, the pacu, the snakeheads. I didn't see. You've done the clown knife fish by now for sure.
Actually, I haven't. I've targeted them.
Oh, okay.
A handful of times. I just never I just never really care for them.
I know. I'm about to say. I think if you wanted to, you'd probably knock them out. I don't find them to
Yeah,
be too.
yeah.
They're
Actually,
just a weird fish. They're
yeah.
not really hard. They're just kind of I don't know, man. They don't play by the rules. They're really strange.
Yeah, I've never
Anyway.
really. I've lost a couple of them. I had one like right up, not at my feet because I was on a
Yeah.
boat. Uh, but I just never really cared. I really never really cared for them. I've targeted them so many times, and like I tried and tried, and then I was just like, dude, like I really don't care.
Yeah.
Like again, like if I had the opportunity to go again and like go on the boat and try to catch them. But even like it's funny because like even when I see them on social media and when people catching them, it's just like I it just does nothing for me. It's cool. It's a bucket
Yeah.
list, I guess. Maybe like way down in the bottom of the list, but you know.
I agree. I think it's one of those ones it's another one where they've got sort of like that photogenic appeal to where it's like it's weird enough to where it makes for kind of an interesting photo.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's
Really
about
good
it.
shark bait, my opinion.
Yeah.
Solid shark
That's
bait.
what I hear about the snakeheads. They're like, oh, that's swordfish bait. I'm like, what does that
Yes,
mean? What are you talking about? Are people really
yes.
doing that?
Yeah. Well, I
But
worked at a tackle shop and people were like they asked for them. They
that is
legit.
interesting. Do they troll them or something? I don't get it.
Yeah, yeah, they troll them. It's a really good presentation with when it comes to those snakeheads,
I guess
especially
I
for
could see it. They're pretty streamlined. They probably don't like spin on like the line if you're
yeah,
trolling them. But
yeah.
the snakehead's another good topic. I've seen you with some real big snakeheads. I'm kind of curious your opinion on like snakehead versus peacock bass, like how you would compare and contrast them by like I don't
They're
know
pretty
where.
cool. They're a pretty cool fish to target as well. Um, that's another fish that like I was very lucky enough to catch a 10 pounder not
Yeah,
too long ago, a
I
real
think
big
I
one.
know which one you're talking about.
The
I
one
mean,
I
a
posted
beast.
recently.
Yeah,
Yeah, that one. It was at he's a rapper in Miami. He's well known. He's like he used to be called. I guess his name is called Grind Mode. That's his band name. But
yeah.
if you hear the song, you'll like it's a Miami song.
Mm-hmm.
And he invited Mike and Monster Mike. I don't know if who you're.
Monster Mike.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he invited him and me over to his house to catch the snakeheads because he feeds them. And there was like 10 pounders everywhere, like huge ones. And Mike caught like an 8, 9, and then I caught one that was double digit, like for sure.
yeah. That's all
And
like the size of the banks are like rocks or something like that. I
yeah,
think.
yeah, yeah. And then I was so happy because I was like, all right, good. Now I caught a giant one. I could care
Mhm.
less about these things.
Yeah,
But targeting them is kind of the same because when you do find them on their spawning season, you'll find them kind
yeah,
of the
big
same
time.
way, like peacocks where they're on fry.
Hmm.
You'll find them where
And
it's
it's the
like,
male and the female, and they're like
yeah,
doing laps around the.
yeah, and it's like the coolest thing. It's so cool.
Yeah, and their
It's
colors, like during the spawn colors, when they flare out all those wild colors.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
You'll
an
see the
interesting
blue.
one.
They have blue in it, like the tail has
Yeah,
blue. It's really, really, really cool. Um, but that's like another fish that doesn't really have like an impact. That's just certain areas.
they have a steeper hill to climb because like the peacock bass is just like blessed with like the bass name. So it's like
Right.
right off the and like butterfly. It's like it's like there's beautiful like connotations behind the name. And then you got something called a snakehead. And it's like people just like ooh when they hear like even hear about snakes. They
Yeah.
just I don't know man that they got a steep hill to climb if they want to gain
I'll
acceptance.
tell you
Although
what
like
though.
the good thing about like the South Florida like fishing culture, I feel like the culture of people in Florida are so much quicker to accept the variety. Like
Yeah,
you throw a
yeah,
new fish in there and people don't get scared of it. They're like, oh hell yeah, something new to
yeah,
chase.
yeah, yeah. You know, it's cool because like the snakeheads that when they get that big, they're really fun to fight. Like even fighting
Yeah.
that 10 plus that I posted, it dude, it even jumped like a sailfish. It was like the coolest thing.
Yeah.
Like in the video, you can't really tell because I'm blocking it, but like in the very corner, like my shoulder, like you could just see it, like it's like dancing on its
Uh-huh.
tail. And I was like, dude, what? Like in the middle of the phone, like this thing did not just do that, you know. But that was one like that was a really cool experience. You know, would I try to target one that big again? Probably not. But still, I got great photo and a great, you
Yeah.
know, great video. So fuck
I've
it.
gone after the snakeheads a lot of times and I've seen the double digits. I've hooked the double digits. I haven't sealed the deal on one yet. So it's sort of like I think I'm the same as you. Is like once I get that under my belt, I'll probably leave them alone for a while. But I've had enough close encounters that it kind of eats away at the back of my mind. I'm like, damn, like I've been that close. But
They're
that's
tough.
one.
I used to use I like most of the time I use bass tackle because I'm so stubborn, but you really got to use like 40, 50 pound leader.
Yeah.
They'll pop you off.
Mm-hmm.
I lost one that was at least in the 12 pound range not too long ago. And it was, I mean, it was just the head. I mean, the head was like, you
Yeah.
know,
Oh yeah. When they
try
start
not to
getting that
exaggerate, but
size, they get like intimidating when they get that big because they're so
yeah,
long. Like they look like
yeah.
dragons moving through the water. I think they're way more badass than northern snakeheads. I've gone up to Virginia to chase those several times, and like those are like probably cooler looking, but like and they live in more wild and more pristine looking environments. Like you feel like you're actually like fishing for something wild out there because you're way out on these major river systems, like way back in like the weeds and the thick stuff. And like here you're fishing behind a McDonald's pitching underneath shopping
Yeah,
carts. But like
yeah.
I feel like our snakeheads, I feel like the bullseye snakeheads fight way harder than the northern snakeheads.
I've never
It's
caught
weird.
one.
They're
I don't
not
know, but
they're cool, and it's like it's them like it's all the thrill is all just in the pursuit, like is the hunt because like it's a very active style of fishing. Like you're covering a lot of ground, you're making a lot of casts, and then they wake like across the surface and go bam. Like they got to really like they got it like if you're into that topwater bite. I'm a terrible topwater fisherman. I'll admit it. Like I can't keep my composure. I swing too early. I get all scared. Like,
that's funny.
but
Yeah,
those northerns, man, they wake on a bait and smoke a bait like nothing else. But after that, I don't know. Their fights like meh. But
right.
they're just cool looking. But anyway, I wanted to tackle all this freshwater stuff because I mean we got to take a lot of pride in like our scene, in South Florida. The South Florida freshwater like scene is like
Very broad.
I feel like our like bank fishing scene is the best in the country. Like we have it better than everybody else because you got the Gulf, you got the Atlantic, I mean, and you got all the exotics. You got like access to all kinds of different species of fish, salt, fresh, everything, all just walking on your 2 feet. And all within 2.5 hour range to really cover all that ground.
Yeah,
I love to just do those days where I start on the West Coast and drive across to the East Coast. And you if you're really proactive and you got a good like game plan, I mean, you can catch tarpon, snook, jacks, bowfin, Florida gar, largemouth bass, peacock bass, Oscars, all kinds of cichlids, tilapia,
yeah,
snakeheads, clown knife fish, all in the same day. It's
yeah,
wild.
yeah,
But
yeah,
anyway, it's
yeah.
it's
No, it's we're so blessed, and like, sometimes I feel like a little brat where it's like I want to catch something new now. You know, like a lot of people are like that here. It's like, oh, like one day I can just go catch tarpon, and then, oh, you know what? I'm feeling snook, or I'm feeling
yeah,
like along
get
with the other
spoiled
species.
quick.
Along, right? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, sometimes I feel like I'm too spoiled, and it's like, all right, dude, I want to go to Texas and catch a bull red.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go, catch a go to Louisiana and catch a big ass drum. Like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
Now it's like we got some big ones here. Like in the Central Florida range, kind of by like the Cape Canaveral area. It's
Hmm.
like you still get some big ones there, but there's no way you're gonna compare that to like the ones in Louisiana, and that's like my next goal.
Yeah. I
That
know I got some buddies up in the same guys I go snakehead fishing with in Virginia on the Chesapeake. There's this bridge in like the Chesapeake Bay, but it's actually like a tunnel that goes, it's really weird. It's kind of creepy looking if you look on Google Maps. Instead of a bridge, they built a tunnel that goes under this massive bay. But they like when you want to talk about world-class redfish, like these things will blow your mind. Like these
done.
dudes are catching like 55-inch redfish, just
Yeah,
monster giant redfish. It's like it's astonishing. But I get the same way. Like we live in like paradise fishing, but I spend a lot of my days like daydreaming about, oh, I want to. And matter of fact, the end of March, I'm planning to go to Idaho because I want to catch a white sturgeon. So I'm like always occupying my time thinking about going to these other states. Hell, I haven't even caught like a real tarpon yet. So I guess that's a good segue into the next thing because you have, and you've
yeah,
caught them from shore. And just to stay kind of on that theme of fishing from shore, the other side of your like content, if you want to call it that, I hate to use the cheesy language, but like your Instagram is
right.
these monster tarpon photos that you have like from the beach, toes in the sand, with these colossal tarpon that you're catching. Tell me a little bit about that scene. I mean, you've pulled it off. It looks like numerous times. This big
Yeah,
tarpon from the beach.
yeah. That also it's kind of the same thing with the peacocks. Like one that big, it just man, I don't even know words can't explain that feeling. Like it really like when you mount like face grab a tarpon that size over 100 pounds, 150 pounds, and you're holding it and you're looking at it, it's like wow.
Yeah.
You know, it's different when you're looking at it on video. It's different when you're looking at it, you know, when you're feeding it at a dock or looking at it at a marina. But when you have it in your hands, it's like damn, like at, it's like wow, this is like a living dinosaur. You see
Mhm.
the detail in the face, you know, you see all the scars, you see the aging in their
Oh
face,
yeah.
eyes, you see everything, and it's just like you appreciate it, and most importantly, you try to respect it as much as you can.
Mhm.
You know, they've been around for millions of years, so it's like you know to be able to just go and catch one on a jig, you know, it's like
Yeah.
it's really, and then you start to like you know try to you're like now you get addicted. You're like I want to understand them more. So that's you know
All I
that's
can do is take your word for it because, like I said, I've not made it happen yet. I really just there's no excuse for it. I've been here for like 4.5 years, and I just avoided it, I guess, because you get this picture in your mind that like it's arguably the most iconic sport fish in the entire state. I mean, that's like the top tier fish that's like at least within like close to shore type of fish. Um, but you get this idea in your head that you got to be like out in a boat in like Boca Grande Pass, like that type of thing. But I just find like your style so much more interesting, like that you're catching it like from land. Or some of the guys that I know here in like the Peace River, there's giant ones way up in the rivers, like way up in the black rivers. Like the tarpon are all black, their faces are black, their eyes are yellow. I'm like, that's the one that I want. I don't care about, it's cool to see the ones that they catch on like 7 Mile Bridge or whatever down in the Keys, where they're all
right.
silver and these migratory fish, and that's awesome. But it's like from at a personal level, like I'm so much more interested in like the way that you do it, and you paint a good picture of it. Like I could like visualize what you're talking about,
Yeah,
and the way that you do it at night. Because I've had my encounters, I've had my misses with them, but it's like the way that their eyes glow, like once you hook up and like you start trying to get a spotlight on them to see what's happening, you see those red eyes glowing. It's like, oh my
yeah.
gosh, this is like
Um,
it feels more like you're monster hunting than fishing at some point. It's like, damn, this is a different level.
right, right. Yeah, I mean, I try to avoid the light. I mean, obviously, I've seen millions of tarpon, like even
Yeah,
with their
yeah.
eyes shining. So yeah, I do understand that, but I try to avoid the whole light, the whole
Just
spotlight thing
to
as much
scare
as
the other ones.
possible. No, not really. They're gonna get whatever's around is gonna get spooked either way from all the
Yeah, yeah,
junk.
yeah.
But I try to avoid that because I mean, I just there's no need for it. I try to have like a feel for it. My eyes are already dilated from it being nighttime.
Yeah, yeah.
Shining the flashlight is just gonna fuck with me. And the only time I'll call my friend over like, yo, shine the light. It's when like, yo, I think he's getting too close
Yeah,
to
yeah,
a
yeah.
rock. I need to know where I'm gonna turn him, shine the light so I can see where he's at.
Right, yeah.
Once I get him away from any structure, whatever, it's like, okay, turn it off. Let me do my thing, you know.
Yeah,
But
that makes sense.
the tarpon you're looking at from the beach, I'm not catching them directly from the beach. I'm actually catching them in an inlet. Um,
Okay. From
and
from a jetty or something?
a
And then
jetty, yeah,
walking them to the beach?
yeah. I'm having to turn them, and like the way I do it. Some of the people actually know, who anyone listening to me talking about this, or like anyone who's gonna watch this, they know where I fish, and obviously I don't want to blurt out a spot, but
I don't know where you fish, so
they know that me turning where I turn the fish, a lot of that has to do with timing. You can't just hook the fish in the middle of an inlet, bring it close to you, and then walk it. Like the way I do is fighting it and trying to time it where it's like he's gonna get close. When he gets close to land or get close to the structure, it's gonna be right where I beach him. So that's like the main way to do it. The proper way to do it. It's really hard.
yeah.
It's not easy. Like, excuse me, a lot of people who look at my photos are like, wow, they get mind blown. And it's like when I look at it, it's more like, yeah, like that wasn't easy. It's you appreciate it more. Like I appreciate it more. It's like, fuck, like I just did that. Like that's $1 million photo for a lot of people.
Mhm.
But it's like it wasn't easy. I had to figure
Yeah.
that out.
No, that jetty fishing is like a whole other monster. I've dabbled in it a little bit, and even just fighting like a shark. I'm like, this is hell. This is like brutal, especially if you get to a point where you're walking. I'm like, yeah, walking them down past that, and then having to like keep them away from the rocks and off the rocks, and then like, yeah, I'm no good at it. I like I said, I know we talked about David Rocca earlier, and it was like he's got like spiked boots. He's got like a whole system because it's like
Yeah, I gotta get those the boots. They're
well, a
part
funny
type.
story. I don't have those, and we needed them, and we caught a black tip out there, which was it was a lot of fun on a plug. I was like a goal of mine. I wanted to catch a black tip on a lure, so
Yeah,
we
that's
pulled that
fun,
off.
man. That's fun. That gets your
It's just
blood
cool,
pumping.
yeah. It was
I
just
get your
cool,
blood
but
pumping.
well, he had a pair of boots. I didn't. So we were like, all right, well, you wear one boot and I'll wear the other boot. So we both have like we both
That's
have one
fun.
good foot. It was just
That's
hell.
fun.
And then like
That's
the like jetty was so steep. He had to like hold my hand and like lower me down onto the rocks. I'm like contending with this black tip in the rocks, waves lapping over me. It's got treble hooks in his face. I'm like, this is
Dude, I was looking
this
at
is
some of your photos, like, man, like you got some stuff, man. You got a lot of my bucket list fish, like even the Jewfish. I don't want to call it Jewfish, but, Goliath
yeah,
grouper.
yeah.
No, I was like, damn, man, like I want to get one from the beach. That's like
It,
a
if the
goal.
West Coast has any advantage over the East Coast as far as big fish from shore, maybe you could say we have a better shot at getting a Goliath with your feet on the sand than over
Yeah,
there.
yeah. I noticed that we do have a lot of them here. Like we
Yeah,
have a
yeah.
ton of them here, and you guys too. Like I'd have to say, like the East Coast and the West Coast have probably
Mhm.
about the same amount, in my
Yeah,
opinion. But as of what you're saying, I've noticed that a lot of people from the surf get them on the West
yeah.
Coast,
There's
which
a
is I think
few.
it's so cool.
There's definitely well, they're on like every bridge, but the difference like on a lot of our bridges or like a lot of our inlets and passes are like they open up to a nice beachy sand. So like
Right,
there's so many beaches here where you can stand on the sand and like with a kayak paddle out to the pilings and it's like nothing. There's a
right.
lot of spots like that, and all of them have Goliaths. I haven't done it at all this year because after the hurricane, all the beaches are like closed down. Like my favorite, like I like to do it on Sanibel. I don't care if people know where I go. It's like the
Right.
Sanibel, hell, Sanibel got wrecked by the hurricane. So I didn't get
Yeah.
to do it this year. I like to do it in the winter months because they're all over the place in the winter. But anyway, yeah, dude. So like the tarpon was a big hitter. Like when I saw that, I was like, I gotta ask about that. That's all. Even from a jetty is even more impressive as far as I'm concerned because if you're on a beach and you're not really contending with having to like keep if 150-pound that thing looked bigger than you. Like
Yeah, yeah. I've
like
had, I've had. I mean, sometimes the pictures don't do it justice. I mean,
yeah,
one of the videos that I have on there, I'm like laying on, like I floated up with the tarpon, and it was longer than me. I'm like, dude, this
Yeah.
thing.
I feel like if that thing wants to get in those rocks, I mean, if it really wants to, there's nothing
Yeah,
you can do.
yeah, no, I'm gonna be honest because you can't hide it. A lot of people, obviously the tarpon fishery has been so much more protective, and I respect that 100%.
Hmm.
Uh, but like I mean, if you're a tarpon fisherman, you have killed a tarpon. Yeah, I've accidentally killed a tarpon. It's gonna happen to you. There's no
Yeah.
hiding that. There's no hiding that. Everyone's like, oh, like if you do this, you're a bad person. Like, there's no hiding it. There's no hiding it. We've all, and captains, and even surf fishermen, people who are fishing from boats. It's happened. It's happened. You can't control it. This fish is trying to save its own life. They know they're targeted species when it comes to sharks.
Yeah.
So they're trying to move, they're trying to shake their head, they're trying to do whatever it takes to get out of the way. So it's like, there's only so much you can control. And dude, like a person like you, a person like me, I can't stop a 150-pound fish from doing what it wants to do. There's no
Right.
way. So I don't care what any captain has to say, what any person has to say, you can't stop it. Especially if
Yeah.
yeah, you can avoid it if you're on a boat, and
Yeah.
yes, you have a better chance of not damaging the fish from a boat, but either way they can still damage themselves from a
Oh
boat,
yeah.
and from land. So either way, it's like, you have to try to respect it as much as you can. I'm guilty of accidentally killing tarpon. They've just before the year ended, I had a minor concussion. I was landing. Nobody really knows about this because I did try not to announce it on Instagram. That's where most of my content people who watch me are from
Hmm.
Instagram. But one of my last photos, it's you can see half the tarpon. It's one of my most recent ones. I'm wearing my black hat backwards, and I'm just there with the tarpon. Right after that wave came, I hit my head on the rock, got
Ooh.
real nauseous, and it was just like ringing in my head. I look, tarpon was just gone. Like I looked right next to me. Tarpon was just like kind of floating, and then it kicked off, and after that, my head was just ringing. I got up on the walkway, and I'm just like, yeah, I hit my head. A lot of people were there, they saw it, and then next day I could barely remember anything. So,
Yeesh.
there's only so much. There's only so much you can control. The best
Yeah.
thing is to when you're in the situation, don't panic and like, all right, we need to get the fish. We need to get the fish, the fish. Like, just be calm. All right, I gotta do this, gotta do that. Rod has to go here, jig has to go here, jig has to come off, lure has to go here.
Hmm.
I need to sit there. Where am I gonna land the fish? How am I gonna grab the fish? How am I gonna grab the fish without descaling them? Where am I gonna lay him
Yep.
down? Where am I gonna hold him? Where am I gonna let him go? Where am I gonna revive him? Like that's kind of like that's one of the main reasons why I try to beach him. It's more like, yeah, I just fought this fish for about 35, 40 minutes. I'm gonna try to turn him into the beach because after I beach him, he's already tired. There's no way, even if I try to land him, on the rocks, he's gonna swim off immediately. There's no way. You have to revive the fish.
Yeah.
So as at least me being on the beach, okay, I'm not gonna have a big ass wave come and hit me. There's no rocks for me to damage myself or the
Hmm.
fish. I can sit right there on the beach, waist deep, reviving the fish for as long as I need to, which I've done. I've sat on the beach for 30 minutes the max, just waiting for him to get a real good kick, and it's like, okay, he's ready to go.
Yeah.
That's one of the main reasons why I try to beach him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I wouldn't even try that on those rocks. I don't know. It's like even the other day when I was there, it's like it's just not like, and they're not like rocks you can really get a grip on. They're slippery. You're sliding down into the water. It's too dangerous. I think it's easy to say we got to take care of the fish, but like if you can't take care of yourself first and foremost, you're not going to be able to take care of the fish. It's like you got to preserve your own safety first. And like going back to the Goliath thing, I'm the same way because all the ones that I've caught, I've done it like alone. I just go solo, and it's like
yeah,
you got to have like a program in place, like exactly where we're going to lay the fish if you're gonna do photos at all or still frame a video or whatever you want to do, you need to have the tripod set up with a light. Like my thing's got a light mounted on it. Like that's cool. Get your photos, but
yeah.
like don't be bumbling
Honestly,
and fumbling around.
I gotta say this because I'm not a selfish type. I gotta say I've been so very grateful and very lucky to have the people I fish with take my photos the way
Yeah.
they're taken. Like I've been so lucky, I've been so grateful, I've been so appreciative. Like, even after my photos are taken, it's like, man, like people would kill to have photos like these. And like,
Hmm.
and I always think my friends like, fuck man, like, I've been so lucky and so grateful. And and it's like, and it's not so much 100% giving the people I'm with credit. It's more my on my behalf too, because like I know, I'm not trying to get cocky. It's like I know what I'm doing. It's more like, okay, especially with the tarpon, not so much the peacocks because it's freshwater and the fish are fine. It's not like a
Oh yeah, yeah,
very protected species, and it's like it's mainly like with the tarpon or even like a black tip. It's more like, yo, like I'm about to land the fish. Whoever I'm with, yo, this is what you need to do. You need to grab my phone. Okay. Once I land the fish, you're gonna grab my rod. Okay. You're gonna put it right on my back. You're gonna do this. You're gonna do that. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that, and everything just lays out perfect. You have to
yeah.
have someone you can trust.
Right. About to say
I've
that's where
been,
it's important to have a crew or like a partner that
yeah. I That's why
knows
like
what they're doing.
I only fish with certain people, people that I trust, people that I know what I want, people that know what I like. You
Yep.
know, Like, and it's not really so much about me. It's more like, okay, yo, if you hook something, I know what I need to do. You know,
Yeah.
you know what you need to do. Like we both want something. We both want to have a good photo. We both want to have the fish, um, to live. Most importantly, it's like, yo, don't fuck up the fish. You don't want to. You don't want to get in trouble. What if F Dub's right around the corner
Yeah.
and he gives you a hard time? What if someone's watching you? Like, yo, you need to grab the phone, grab the flash, grab your other phone, have the flash ready. I'm gonna land this fish a certain way. I'm gonna pose a certain way. Take the photo, get the lure out. Boom, it's gone. It's quick. Everything is quick. So, and that's important. That's very
Yeah.
important. So,
Especially with those bigger fish like that. And the Goliaths are the same thing. The sharks are the same thing. You don't want to be the guy killing them because the bystanders that see it,
Terrence.
they don't say Chris killed that fish. They said them damn fishermen. Like you like
Yeah,
embody and represent
yeah,
all the other guys doing it. But I concur with that. It's not even probably smart that I do some of the Goliath stuff alone. But at the same time, it's like, you know, at least with them, you don't have to chase the fish. Like a Goliath, where you hook them, you can plant your feet, and that's exactly where you'll bring them. So like you can kind of have all your tools that you need for dehooking them and getting your photos and getting them out quickly. Um,
right.
you can usually get that done pretty quick, and they're strong, heavy fish, but they ain't gonna peel off drag. It's like
The weight. Yeah,
yeah, it's just like you can really if you put the heat to them, you can bring them in pretty quick. It's a lot better than doing it from a boat. Doing it from
really.
a boat is hell because then they're pulling down. Like when they're swimming
Ah,
down,
yeah,
that's when
yeah,
you see all like the real like viral YouTube videos of like the bodybuilders like
yeah,
like from the beach. It's not even like that. You can sit your ass in the sand and just like it's
yeah,
nothing.
yeah,
But
yeah.
anyway, so yeah, I mean the tarpon's the big one. I mean, and I looked through your photos. You got the giant. I mean, you got them all. Like big snook, the Cobera. I saw that you recently posted. That's another one that I'd like to run across. The Barracudas, the Jacks. So just with that said, just all like encompassing. I feel like you've. I mean, I guess I mean you're a young guy, but you've already you've already done this massive spectrum of like the freshwater, natives, exotics, saltwater, big, small, from shore to the point that you've started this now. And I only recently, I mean, I guess you just told me that the Florida Surfcasters Instagram page is your page.
Yeah, yeah. I try not to be like too open about it. Now it's probably too late, but
I can
um,
edit that out if I need to. We can
no,
rerun
no,
through this.
no. It's cool. I mean, it's cool. I mean, a handful of people do know. It's actually not 100% mine. It's actually a good friend of mine. We used to work together at the bait shop. When I was younger. This was actually all his idea.
Okay.
Uh, I'm taking zero credit for this. This was all his idea. This was something that he started, um, but he had no time for it. So what happened was he ended up giving me the page. I had the page for like 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
it might be more, if I'm not mistaken. This started back in 2017. So what he wanted to start was a lifestyle. It was
Yeah, I like that.
it's a surf casting community. No one's really, has pushed that. NOBN's done a pretty good job, you know, growing that too, which
Hmm.
is really cool. They started the same time we did. So, but they started, growing it a couple years back more. So what happened was he ended up moving to another job, and then now I work with him. So we both work at the same job together. So then he ended up bringing up the idea again. He's like, "Yo, like, um, give me the page. I want to start doing this." And I'm like, and I didn't even know. I was like, "Yo, what was it that you wanted to do with this? Was this supposed to be like some shout out page or whatever?" He's like, "No, like this is a lifestyle. Like I wanted to
Yeah.
create a lifestyle to the surf casting community. It's just all land based fishing. It's so that everyone, can just come together and like you're a surf caster, like, oh, that's dope, like just to build a community and
Yeah.
surf casting, you know, apparel and what, et cetera, et cetera. So I was like, yo, like I'm down to do it with you, like let's like, people, I know people, like
Uh-huh.
let's just try to like grow this as much as we can. And he's like, yeah, man, let's do it. So, what we had to do was we had to we had to like we had to clean up the page entirely.
Hmm.
The page was just a huge mess. So we had to delete a bunch of photos, unfollow a bunch of people, follow a bunch of new people, find new people, post people, and one of the ways I kind of didn't like, I mean, we've grown a lot. I mean, we're almost at 200,000 followers.
Yeah.
Um, I feel bad, and even my friend feels bad too, is using other people's content. But it was more like, yo, like this is really cool footage. This is surf casting. This is jetty fishing. This is what, et cetera, et cetera. Like, let's just have everyone together. Let's just post everyone, And then now within the past month or two, we've like slowed down on that drastically. It was more like let's just grow everyone. Let's just try to bring everyone together. Let's just show people who we are,
Hmm.
And then now meeting so many people, even going to ICAST this last year, I met so many people
Oh, that's cool.
that I knew who we were, and I was just like, and then I was just like, okay, now we need to move to the next step, the next step. Like, let's just see how far we can go. And a lot of people love the idea. A lot of people love what we're doing. They want to see more from us. So it's, obviously we made shirts. So
Yeah.
now
And
we
it's a cool, like low key, like humble design too. You didn't go too
yeah
crazy with like I will buy that shirt.
yeah
It's a cool design.
yeah. I take full credit. I designed the front and the back.
Yeah.
And so now we're already like on the next step, like, okay, now we're gonna bring in products, stuff like that. We're gonna make
Yeah.
more apparel. So, that's that. We're obviously trying to grow the business that we work at now.
Hmm.
We both work for R&R Tackle.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
so we're a fishing manufacturer, we're a brand, we're a distributor. Um, we actually make the jigs.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
And I have a bunch of them hanging up there. Actually,
A
all
whole
the ones that are
chandelier.
no, all the ones that are hanging up there. I don't know if you could see it. Let me see. Right there. You see all those?
Yeah.
Yeah, all those up on top of the crane. Yeah, all those are all 100 pounders. I've caught 100 pounders and
I was
all
about
of
to
them.
say, has each of those been in a fish's mouth?
Yeah, all
That's
those are
awesome.
on. And then I have two more over there that are also 100 pounders that I've caught.
That's cool.
Uh, so yeah, we make the aspirin heads. They're called aspirin heads. They're flare hawks. It's a 9.0 black nickel hook. It's the only jig on the market that actually has this hook. You know, so
That's
now
legit.
this color, we don't sell it right now. This is actually a color that my friend, my partner, he's the one who tied this. He tied this for me,
Hmm.
and well, not this specific one. Another one I have up there. One of the ones I have hanging up there. He tied me this specific color black tail, purple, pink, and then the gray with the purple pink head.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, dude, I got bored making jigs. I know you like tarpon. I made this for you." And when he gave me that jig, I was looking at it and I was like, I'm gonna catch 100 pounder on this jig, and he's like, "Yeah, whatever, dude." And then the next time I go out third cast, I caught a 120 pound tarpon
He's
on the
probably
jig.
like, give me that jig back.
Yeah, no, it's funny
No,
because
I know.
he doesn't really like tarpon that much. He's more of
Yeah.
a snook guy, and I'm a tarpon freak. So it's like I was like, oh well, third cast, I told you, I was gonna catch it. And this color is just amazing. So
Yeah.
now we're gonna start making them.
That's awesome.
So that's that. But getting off topic with the Florida surfcasters, it's like that's just the community we want to build. We want to be friendly
Yeah.
with everyone. We've a lot of people know who we are. So everyone right now is just kind of like, what are you guys gonna do? That's kind of where we're at right now.
Well,
You know,
it is an awesome page, and I don't even feel like you were off topic. Like, I mean, if I love to see, especially like I like to see when people like get to a point where they are able to, draw a profit off of what they like to do. Because how many of us are stuck in a job that is deeply unfulfilling? And it's like, there's
yeah,
you never know. It could turn into something where it's like literally a career, and like that's what you do. But yeah, I love that, and I wrote it and I underlined the word. Like, I love that that you describe it as a community. It's not just like a show me page. It's not just like a,
yeah.
hey, let me
We
just.
tried to like, unfortunately, I, I wouldn't say unfortunately, but like some of the videos have gone viral just because they're just good videos.
Yeah,
Like
well, that's a
one,
good thing.
and I lost contact with the guy. This guy got over 105 million views. Uh,
Jeez.
yeah, I mean, it was just crazy. It's still popping off right now, and like it was him fighting. It was a Goliath from the bridge, and it just
Hmm.
popped. It's over 100 million views right now, and it's crazy. Like stuff like that will happen, and we tried to like, and that's kind of one of the things that we tried to stop doing that, posting other people's content. Now we're just trying to just post apparel, just so that
Yeah.
people can just promote our stuff and wear our stuff. It's so funny because today I was at Wingstop getting lunch, and I'm grabbing my food. Some guy literally walks in wearing the shirt. I'm like I'm like, "Hey," and he's like, "Hey." I'm like, "Yeah, like my friend and I own that." And he's like, "Oh, okay, cool."
Yeah, sure you do, pal.
I'm
Yeah,
just like,
I know.
"All right, whatever."
Yeah.
But I'm like, "Thanks for for wearing the shirt." And he's like, "Yeah, man, whatever."
Well, don't stop putting the photos up either. I mean, I scrolled through them and it's
Yeah,
like, this is awesome stuff. You do a good job of like managing the content. Like, I know you talked about you deleted some people out, you deleted some photos out because I think it's easy for, I don't know, bad stuff to seep in. But I recognized a lot of the faces as I was scrolling, like, oh, a couple of them even been on this podcast already. The episodes are just yet to be released.
right,
Um,
right.
two of the guys within like the first couple layers have been on, so it's like all solid dudes, and it's even better too that if it's showing a lot of different faces. I mean, me as an outsider scrolling, if it was the same guy the whole time, I'm like, well, that guy's good at it, but maybe I can never do it. But when you see a lot of different people able to do it, it's like, man, there's really something to this South Florida like surf fishing culture. Like, this is awesome. Look at all these guys getting after it, and it's a cool way just to like learn new people. But
Right.
it's a badass page. I was like scrolling through it. I'm like,
I
damn, this
appreciate it.
is
We
this is legit.
that's really what we want to do, is just build a community, and also kind of just give back in a way, you know, in the
Yeah,
future. If we get big enough where we can give back, we want to do that, you know.
right. Yeah,
Kind of just help people out, and like, oh, do you need product? Like, we want to give back, you know.
yeah. I feel like that at some point when something gets big enough, you start like having levels of responsibility that fall on your shoulder to be like, all right, well,
Mhm.
when your voice gets loud enough, you got to really watch the proverbial things you're saying, not
Yeah.
necessarily even words. It's just actions. Like, what are you doing? It's like you kind of become an ambassador for that culture of fishing, that community of fishing. But it's an awesome page. I know we're running short on time, dude. You've got like, it's always so tough to talk to guys like you where like when there's so much variety in the type of things that people catch, I have like a hard time condensing it down.
Yeah,
You
man.
know,
I mean, dude, I mean, I got plenty of time with that. You know, that's all I knew. But yeah, I'm open to whatever question you want to know. You
no,
know.
I don't know, dude. I think you painted a really good, vivid picture of everything that I asked. And if I have other questions, it's not like we couldn't do this again, or I just reach out to you off to the side for my own, I don't know, personal interests. Because I mean, I live here, so and
Right.
you're clearly a guy who's done some things that I would like to do. So who knows? I'll probably reach out about those things off off script. But so I see all the stuff that you've done in Florida, and obviously you could spend a lifetime in Florida and never catch everything. There's always more to do. I always like to know though, like from fishermen, like do you have trips like that you're kind of like sitting on thinking about, like I guess you call them bucket list fish, or like
Yeah.
fish like adventures or species where you might expand your horizons a little? You got anything like on the agenda, some travel that you would be interested in doing?
Yeah. 100%. I feel like there's two places I want to go. Is Louisiana for the redfish. That's definitely like like a must to catch a bull on fly, or just to catch one in general, but on fly would be really cool. Um and the next one would be to go to Colombia. I'm not born in Colombia. My whole family's Colombian. My background's Colombian.
Oh,
So
okay.
to just to go there and catch cuberas and topwater, and just to catch those species would be great. Like the peacock bass over there, it's a bucket list for sure. But is it really like my top, like that's the first thing I'm gonna do? No, it's not.
Yeah.
It really isn't. It really isn't. And it's not because it's like, you know, it's not because like, oh, I've caught so many big ones here. It has nothing to do with that. It's more like I've spoken to a lot of people, like, yeah, the big ones are fun, but then it's like, all right, yeah, it gets kind of old, you know.
Yeah.
More like, yo, you catch a cubera on top water, it's like, dude, that shit
Yeah.
gets your blood pumping, and that you can't really do over here, At least I have a better understanding of like where to find the big peacocks. So it's like, okay, if I really want to catch a big one, I know where to go.
Mhm.
I know how to find them. Now to go to Colombia and do that and spend $3,000 for, $5,000 on a trip like that, it's like I better catch an 18 plus. Are you gonna catch an 18 plus guaranteed? No, but if I'm gonna spend that much money, I'm gonna catch a cubera first on top water, and then do that after. If it,
Yeah.
if I feel like I have the need to do that, you know. But definitely to go to Louisiana, catch the bull redfish. That's probably like the first thing I would do. Um, and then after that, I'd probably book a trip to um, you know, try to get a cubera, like at least a 50 pounder on top water. That's
Yeah.
like a
Those things are gnarly. I agree
Another
with it.
one would be Australia.
Oh yeah.
To get a GT.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's another one. That's like really cool.
Hmm.
Other than that, I mean, there's nothing else that really kind of like blows my mind. Maybe getting like a tuna on top water, but you
Yeah.
know, other
Yeah.
than that,
I love to see like kind of where people's minds are at, like, I don't know, in the dream phase. You catch a lot of fish already that are on other people's bucket list that they're thinking
yeah,
about. So it's always funny to kind of see, like, a lot of people don't realize that they themselves are fishing somebody else's bucket list, especially us Florida guys. But
yeah,
I'm the same way though. Like if I'm gonna spend $3,000 or more, I want to catch something that is like gonna be nothing like what I've ever caught before. Like
yeah.
I've actually got some plans. I never like letting the cat out of the bag, but like there's a very high possibility or good possibility. I want to go to Guyana this year in the fall.
That's cool.
And one of the fish that live in the river that I want to go to is the same species of peacock bass, or like they're like about as closely related to what we see here. And I'm gonna
Really?
tell them, I'm gonna be like, hey, let's keep on going upriver. Like, if I'm gonna spend this much money and we only got a set number of days, we can keep on a rolling, because I'm
I
not
was gonna
I'm not
say that.
I ain't going there to catch peacock bass.
I was gonna say that I think our species isn't really from um Brazil and Colombia. I don't really think that what we have here is actually from there. I think it's from those other places
Yeah.
because of the way they're growing. They're really boxy here. You notice that?
Hmm.
More like their head kind of just goes up. They're more like a boxier
Yeah.
fish. And you look at the fish that are being caught in Brazil and Colombia, they're not like that. They're just really long.
Yeah.
You know, you'll find some boxing ones. I've seen very few photos that are like that, but they don't really. And even then, the patterns aren't the same.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like what
it's
you're saying,
that's probably what you've seen in Guyana in like the Essequibo River. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. You'll see the ones that look well. You'll see some that look identical to the ones that we catch here, but then you'll see other ones. The body structure is the same, but like instead of bars, it's almost like little like like dots and
yeah,
something
yeah,
different. But
spots, yeah, yeah,
apparently those are like the closest related. But
right.
I really want to go there, but I'm gonna straight up be like, hey, let's I ain't trying to spend no time catching these. I want to catch something that I've never seen before, like, or
Right.
that I will never see before again, or
A
never see
peacock
again. But
here, I've seen that it's kind of like a very similar pattern to like those other countries, those other places. They get up to like 12, 15 pounds, you know,
yeah,
and they get that boxy look that I love. That's what
mhm.
really like that's what really is like fuck man, like that is just that flared up box look.
Yeah,
It, like I said, like in South America, you don't really see too much of that. You really don't. It's everything is specific. The fins are specific. The dorsal fin is specific. The body shape, the head is very specific. They don't really have that same characteristics that we do here. But those other countries, they do. That's how I know that if we don't get a freeze, like a solid freeze for like another 10 years, someone's gonna catch a 12, 15 pounder in Miami. And
yeah,
that's gonna change a lot of things. That's gonna
hmm
open up a lot of people's eyes. You know, it's gonna be real crazy, real tough to beat.
yeah.
You know.
I could totally see that too. Well, let's pray for global warming then. Like,
Yeah, well, yes and no. Like it's kind of like what you were saying earlier. I feel like I feel, and this is just a theory. I have a bunch of theories that I think is right. But one of the theories is I think that the peacocks are bigger in certain areas because it's a habitable zone. Kind of
yeah,
like our planet. We live in a habitable zone. I believe that peacocks are growing better and feeding better in certain parts of Miami because it's a habitable zone. You know, so or the lakes or the areas that they're living in are at a certain depth where it's like, okay, I can go deep to warm up if I wanted to, or I can go
yeah.
all the way to the top to feed. I can go here, I can go there. So that's another that goes back to having a good ecosystem. So
Are
you
they
know,
in Lake Okeechobee?
I have no idea. I have no idea. I don't think so. No, no,
I
no.
always wondered that. I
I don't
guess
think so.
maybe they're not. I've not heard of it. I think maybe I've heard some might be, but I always kind of like thought if they were loose in there, I just don't know if that one can maintain the temperature that they need or whatever. But I
Right.
always
Yeah, I
wondered,
don't
like,
I don't think so. I don't think so. That's too far up. It's too far up.
yeah.
That's kind of like you're already pushing it there.
And then in Naples, we have a decent sized lake called Lake Trafford. I always wondered if they got in there. I mean, that's a sort of wild looking lake, but anyway, all speculative. But Uh, I think I'm coming up on the end of my time, but we've described a lot of awesome fish, and I know I keep gloating over your Instagram page and the Florida Surfcasters page, but like people listening who want to see these things, like where can they find you at, whether it be Instagram or YouTube or wherever they might be able to find you? Any shout out pages you want to give, like the Florida Surfcasters one, just
No, not
social
really.
accounts.
Yeah, the Florida Surf Guys. I feel like we're not really at the point of just trying to like grow it. Like
Mhm.
grow it. It's more like everyone kind of knows who we are. They're just, like I said, they're just trying to figure out what we're trying to do. Like,
Yeah.
like we're like, what are they gonna do? That's kind of everyone right now because everyone we bump into, everyone we talk to, they're like, yeah, we know who you are. We know who you are. Like, I know who you are. So it's more like that. But you're trying to find me. Obviously, Chris Fish is my Instagram. That's kind of like I try not to like, that's more like where I'm gonna get the messages from, um, and stuff like that. Or if you want to be updated on my content, like what I'm posting and what I'm catching at the time. It's gonna definitely be my Instagram. The Florida Surfcasters page is more like, if you want to be part of the surfcasting community, or you consider yourself a surfcaster, or a land-based fisherman,
Mhm.
definitely be aware of that. We're gonna try to grow as much as we can. That's our goal, is to grow as much as we can and create a big enough community where people appreciate that type of fishing. And that's pretty much it. Just following it, just following it, and just stay posted on everything.
And you mentioned earlier that you have, or maybe you still do, or maybe it's like it kind of a case by case, you know, read the person who's reaching out. Do you still do any kind of land based type urban fishing charters for people? Like, will you still take a client out to go catch peacock bass and stuff?
Um, if you're from out of state, I will. That's always been my policy.
Yeah, it's probably smart.
Uh,
People come
yeah,
to,
and I've been pretty lucky. Like I've had a lot of people from out of state find me. I've been very, very lucky with that. Very
yeah,
grateful with that. A lot of apparently a lot of people in Ohio know who I am,
yeah.
which I thought was pretty funny, because like someone who had booked me was like, yeah, dude, like there's these guys that talk. There's like a bait shop that knows about you. I'm like, oh, I guess that's pretty interesting.
That's funny.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. But like like a lot of that I kind of like slow down on. I'll still do it, under those circumstances.
Yeah, that's smart because I think at some point you're just selling your spots to people. So
Yeah, I won't
you know
got
how that
anyone from
gets.
Miami. That's just kind of how it is,
Yeah. Well,
you
that's
know.
smart. Well, I'm gonna end up throwing all these up on the screen for the videos that I do, and then obviously in like the descriptions for where the podcast gets posted, it'll be in that. So I link it all because I want people to see the stuff. You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to find people that I feel like are good ambassadors for like what they do, whether it's a guy in Alaska or a guy up in the Arctic or a guy overseas or a guy wherever. But I don't
Yeah,
know,
man,
dude.
dude. To make a nice little collage. I'll repost it. People, and I'm gonna let you know, like, that I don't talk about like my partner, with the Florida Surfcast. He's the only one, and he says it the same thing with me. He's the only one I talk about fishing with.
Mhm.
He's the only one that we talk about tides, the moon, and etc. And lures and what, and stuff like that. Like he's the only one I talk to, and like questions like you, like this is probably the first time in a very, very long, and like years, where I like open up to questions like that. So
Yeah.
uh so I and there's a lot, every time I always try to put like, ask me a question on my story, just like, yo, like if you have a question, just ask me. If you have like a reasonable question, just ask me. And like
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people are like, they're shy about it. So, this is like podcasts, like stuff like this is gonna be the only way you're gonna get something out of me. Because if you bump into me at Walgreens, or at a
Yeah.
supermarket, dude, there's no way you're gonna have me talk about fishing. Like, there's no way you're gonna catch me like, yeah, man, like I prefer this time of the year for this type of fish, and
Yeah.
go there. Like, you won't catch me doing that.
Yeah, there's like I feel like you're probably savvy enough to know when somebody is genuinely interested and wants to learn and somebody just wants to, I don't know, get free
That's something.
information for nothing.
Yeah, yeah,
But
I'll know right away, and I get real dry, I get real
yep.
simple. I hate to say it like
I
that,
know.
but
Oh,
I've
they're
had so many
everywhere.
people. I've had so many um messages, DMs,
Yeah.
like, I'll give you money for a spot, or tell me a
Ugh.
spot, or I'm coming down to Miami, like give me a spot. It's like, dude, like, I really bust my ass,
Hmm.
like I put so much of my time, my energy, like I sacrifice a lot to get not to where I'm at now, like I guess to get to where I'm at now, like what I've accomplished so far. There's
Yeah.
so much more that I want to accomplish. But I've gone to the point where it's like, dude, I've really put my time and my as much as my knowledge as I can into trying to get another person's dream fish.
Yeah.
And there's no way you're just gonna like, yeah, dude, where do you go? Oh, you go here. Okay, I'm gonna go there. Like, no, it
And
doesn't
then
work.
you never hear from them again.
Oh yeah, yeah,
So that's the thing. Usually, if that's like the icebreaker in the conversation, is like if people reach out to me about things and they just jump straight into where can I do this, like they ain't trying to like, I don't know. I feel like social media it used to be called social networking sites. And then that like gave way to social media, and it's like a difference. Like, I need to get back to actual like authentic networking with other anglers. Like what I like doing, because I like to like at least a couple of times a year, I like to travel and like do something I've never done before. But it's like you establish a rapport with somebody from Ohio or from Idaho where I want to go in March. I'm not going with a guide. I'm going with an awesome dude that a lot of these are people that I've been talking to for years, and you establish a rapport,
a relationship.
Yeah, and then it's like, hey, man, you come out here and fish with me, and then I go fish. I've got a lot of guys that have come down, and then like when I talked about those guys up in Virginia that I went fishing for snakeheads with, the same guys have come down here and caught bullseye with me, peacocks. We've hit the Everglades together, the Goliaths. It's that's the way it's supposed to be. It's got to be mutually beneficial. People trying to help each other and like build up the sport. But I think it's easy when somebody just dive bombs and cannonballs right into your direct messages. Be like,
I'm not gonna lie.
Where did you catch that?
Like some of the people that fish the same spots as me that are actually interested in trying to figure it out, which is like I could barely count with one hand. Like I could probably say like three people. I could probably say like three people that I know that fish like the same spots as me, and they're like, man, like I'm just trying to understand it or whatever. And I'll talk to them like, yo, like if you come here on this tide, this moon, they usually sit right here. They'll sit right there. Sometimes they'll sit here. I'll hook up here. I'll hook up there. Like sometimes when the current's ripping this way or on outgoing or on an incoming tide, like they'll sit here. Like I'll talk to them if they're interested or they're really trying to figure it out, or but most importantly, it's someone that I know, someone that I've known for years, someone that I've known for a long time. So it's more like that, more than that circumstance.
Well, I think the good thing about this whole podcast thing is people who just want information for free real quick, they ain't gonna sit through no hour-long conversation. I feel like the people who are gonna listen to these are hopefully, ideally, more serious about what they're doing, because other people, they just want to watch a quick 5-minute sizzle video.
But I listen to podcasts
and try to look at the like buildings and look at the backgrounds, try to figure out where you're at. Like, oh, I see a Starbucks back there and a street sign.
Yeah, no, I mean, I listen to. I mean, I don't not as much because I've been so busy at work. Yeah. But even at work, like while I'm working, I listen to a lot of podcasts. Not so many because there's very like a handful of fishing podcasts, and you're definitely one of them, along with like Millhouse. I love Millhouse. He interviews like a lot of the old timers. I know very few old timers, but other podcasts, like people like to listen, and they're like, they get it still picks their brain while they're working, so that's good, especially stuff like this. They're going to be very interested and very intrigued. So
well, one can only hope. We're still new in this. I'm still new in this, but I've been pretty proud of the lineup of guys that have come on. They've all been interesting people, including yourself. I mean, you've got phenomenal page, awesome stuff. You're like a great representative of like the South Florida region. It's like I want to have like my guy for each like area, and like you're and so it's been a great conversation, and you clearly know your stuff, but I'm just about ready to.
There's always more to talk about, but like I mean, even feel free to call me. I always find time. Like I just sat down, turned on the computer. I just got back from work, so.
Well, for sure, I'm gonna hop off here and order me one of them shirts. I'm jealous of it. I appreciate it. It's got a great look. But I'm gonna run inside, help my kids with their homework, squeeze a little workout in because I told you my gym's over there, my ghetto little setup here.
Nice.
But Chris, man, awesome talking to you. I'm glad I got you on here, and I appreciate you giving me almost 2 hours of your time. It's been a great one.
Yeah, of course. Like I said, I can talk. I mean, I can if you're interested, I can talk. I can talk and answer all your questions. So. Well,
you never know. May do this another time on other topics. It's not like a one-time deal. It's like
no. Like I said, you can message me whenever.
For sure. But all right, dude. Well, we'll let you get to it. All right.
All right, man. I appreciate it. Thanks again.
Yep. We'll see you. Thank you for listening to the Boundless Pursuit podcast. If you enjoyed this show, your feedback, comments, and reviews are very important to me. Also, this podcast is just one element to a much bigger content outlet. I urge you to head over to www.haverodswilltravel.com, where you'll find audio, visual, and written editorial content. That is 3 dimensions of awesome fishing content brought to you by a very dynamic team of anglers. I hope that you'll tune in next week as we continue to build this program and have interesting and skilled anglers each Thursday. Thank you for listening.